For some reason, I always skipped out on this anime, based on Tsugumi Oba's manga, whenever it was scheduled to come on YTV. From what I remember, it would always be featured on Fridays after Inuyasha around midnight or something like that. And my usual Friday night TV watching routine involved Spider-Man 3D, Samurai Jack, and of course Inuyasha, in that order. I don't know if it was because the visuals didn't appeal to me, which is funny because Madhouse usually produces top-tier art styles, and in cases like this, honors the manga. Or because I knew nothing about it as a result of the lack of attention it was getting at the time. At least, from my perspective, seeing as nearly every single show on that channel got a lot of advertising, except for Death Note. I found out many years later that its programming was cut short due to its subject matter. Well, no wonder. After hearing good things about it from a few friends, I finally sat down to watch it during my undergrad. Regardless of its age, you could have told me that it just came out and I'd believe you in a heartbeat. While other shows I could think of had a bigger impact on me and were better written, this one nevertheless blew me away in almost every way, and largely influenced how I look at anime now. For one thing, it's incredibly memorable. Even though I haven't revisited the show since university, I could give you the rundown of what happens in each episode and explain the plot with little trouble. That being said, I will occasionally rewatch the last episode because of how perfectly it ends. It really stuck with me. And though I don't want to spoil what happens for folks who have yet to watch the anime, and why aren't you already watching it? I will say that the closing moments are what truly bring to light the thematic undertones that are masterfully interwoven in this revelatory work of art. So from here on out, I'm going to treat this quote-unquote TV talk differently from the entrees I've released in the past, in the sense that I will not be talking about the show itself and extracting what I like so much about it. Rather, I want to discuss what can be taken away from it. For starters, the show really painted the whole nature of smart crime and detective dramas for me. You quickly realize that it becomes less about the end goal to the point of it being relegated to the background until the very end, and more about the character development and interactions that take place throughout the show. That's why I'm really glad that the premise narrowed in on the important issues and the motives brought forth by the characters and their circumstances. You become engulfed with the competition between the two sides, worrying more about whose logic makes more sense and whose skills are more applaudable than the implications of their intentions, depending on who wins in the end. And yeah, really what this whole thing is about is winning and losing. For something grounded in fantasy, the concepts in this story are astoundingly relatable, as we see this sort of thing happen in real life. Emotions in other people become irrelevant, or at least applicable to whichever side we are on, when we start to care more about who will and who should come out victorious, and less about the end result itself. Why is that? Because nobody likes the disheartening and disappointing feeling of losing when we work so hard to achieve something that we believe in. It's not what happens afterward that concerns us, it's who comes out on top that does. Because let's face it, how consequential something is becomes irrelevant when we put so much hope and trust in someone when they say they want to do something. Suddenly, our feelings only become important when projecting them toward the individual rather than toward the end product. A lot of things that happen in the world, by and large, are inconsequential because they don't necessarily affect everyone and don't change much of anything, if at all, in day-to-day life. At the end of the day, what interests us the most are the drive and the inventively dangerous lengths people will go to just to surpass others. In the name of discourse, it doesn't really matter what happens, but how. We are swayed by personalities and actions, not by the means. Regardless of who's claimed the moral high ground, if either side could make it that far, we'll always pick a side on the basis of how much they compel us personally. And Death Note depicts all of these ideas, however unnerving and uncomfortable, with absolute virtuosity, despite its flaws. This story still stands the test of time and deserves all the praise it will no doubt continue to receive in the years to come.